NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here. Bring your latest and you're not looking so great right now Brooklyn Nets news. I hope everyone had a happy and wonderful and safe New Year's. I actually wanted to do this video before New Year's, but, you know, things happen. NetsBoy's busy. Plus, he had plans on New Year's, so I just didn't have enough time to actually do it. But, yeah, so here we are, January 1st of 2020. Of course, a lot of you are probably seeing this video on the 2nd because, you know, it takes me forever to actually finish these and post them. But either way, it's the beginning of the new calendar year, the 2020 portion of the season. And the Nets, listen, they need a clean slate right now because they ended 2019 like complete garbage. And, you know, originally, if you remember my last NetsBoy episode, I wasn't going to do a video for a couple of weeks because I said, you know, the holidays, this and that. But after I saw the Nets lose 3 straight, including losses to the Knicks at home in the Barclays Center, and capped off with a disastrous overtime loss to the Timberwolves that didn't even have Karl-Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins, I said, you know what, I can't wait. I got to do a video, and here I am posting this video, which is just simply about the Nets clearly not being that good. It's clear to me now. It was clear to me. I started realizing it a couple weeks ago. You know, we saw signs even when the Nets were winning, like that ugly win against the Pelicans. They looked terrible in that game, but they managed to win. They were down by more than 20 against the Hawks, and yes, they came back and won that game. So there were signs that the Nets were going in the wrong direction. But to lose to the Knicks, and not only to lose to the Knicks, to get completely blown out by the Knicks at home in Barclays Center, that was an embarrassment all on its own. And, you know, I said before that the Knicks are always a scary team because, first of all, they're not as bad as they've been playing. I still think they're a pretty bad team, but they're not as bad as – they're not the worst team in the Eastern Conference. They're not. They've just been, you know, bad so far. And since they fired what's his name? Guy, I forgot his name. David Fizdale, thank you. I don't know who I'm thanking. My brain. Thanks for remembering. Since they fired David Fizdale and with Mike Miller as the coach now, they've looked a lot better. But anyway, the point is, and I always said before that the Knicks always scare me because the Nets and the Knicks have the rivalry, and the Knicks are probably sick of hearing about all the hype about the Nets, so they always come to play against the Nets. So it didn't shock me that the Nets lost to the Knicks, but it just shocked me how bad that game was for the Nets and how they got blown out by the Knicks. So that was an embarrassment on its own. They play the Rockets. Look, I expected the Nets to lose that game. It was in Houston. James Harden scored, I think, 46. The Nets were kind of hanging around in it, but in the end, it was just too much James Harden Rockets. I expected that, and they didn't look too bad in that game. But then to follow that up with an overtime loss to the Timberwolves, and like I said, literally just a couple minutes ago, that had no Karl-Anthony Towns and no Andrew Wiggins. Are you kidding me? You let Shabazz Napier, who I like, by the way, and all Net fans probably like because he played great last year, score 34 points and just dominate the game. And it's like I said, it's very clear. This team is not that good. They have regressed to the mean, which is suck, which is what this name of this episode is. And that's the truth. The way this team is constructed now, without Kyrie Irving and without Karis LeVert, this team is nothing more than a 500 team. It's true. That's what they are. That's why they regress to the mean. They regress to the average of 500 because that's what they are with this team. They were 3 games over. That was overachieving. It balances out. And that's what we're seeing right now from the Nets. They regress to the mean. They're playing like a 500 team because that's the way this roster, as of right now, is constructed. Without LeVert, without Kyrie, and with David Nwaba, of course, being out as well because he was a huge player, factor for them as well, this team is nothing more than a 500 team. And, the players that were making this team good, they've regressed to the mean. Taurean Prince has been complete garbage the last couple of weeks, which makes sense because he was playing so well at the beginning of the year. He was shooting, career high from 3-point percentage, and he was having career games, this and that. It looked great. And now he's playing like crap and regressing to the mean. Garrett Temple, my friend, other than the Hawks game, he's been complete garbage lately, and he started off great as well. He's regressing to the mean. So it all balances out. Jared Allen, who was a double-double machine and was getting almost, 15 rebounds, 10 points a game, not that he's been bad, but he has not been nearly the same. He's regressed to the mean. The only one that you could argue isn't regressing is Spencer Dinwiddie, but at the same time, he didn't, he had 30, I think 34, 32, or 30-something points in that Timberwolves game, but he also shot like 9 of 20-something. So he didn't have a great shooting performance either. So he's just trying to carry this team. And so that's what we're seeing, is that this roster is just average right now. And that's why it's critical for LeVert to come back soon, which the word on the street is he's going to be back in the next week or so, which is fantastic. He's ruled out against the Mavericks, but they think he could come back the following week, which would be huge. And once again, go figure that LeVert comes back before Kyrie Irving. I guess it takes longer for a thumb surgery to heal than a day-to-day shoulder stinger. But as we all know, that shoulder injury sounds like it's worse than just a day-to-day injury, but whatever. Hurry up, Kyrie. Come on. Whatever. I'm not going back into that. I talk about it every episode. Just get healthy and get healthy fast. So anyway, LeVert should be coming back soon, but they need this. They need at least LeVert or Kyrie to come back, because this team will not win more than 41 games this year if they don't get those guys to come back. And as we all know, they need to win 45 so this year Nets fan can walk out with a little extra moolah. Because right now, this Nets fan is kind of freaking out about making that bet, because they need to go 29-21 the remainder of the season, which, by the way, is very doable. But they need to go 29-21 to get to 45 wins. The problem is, I don't think this team right now, the way it's constructed, without the being fully healthy, I don't think they can go 29-21. So they need LeVert, they need Kyrie, and they need the rest of the guys to regain the confidence and start playing the way they did a couple weeks ago. Because, like I said, they're regressing to the mean. And it's only going to get tougher. And that's what makes it so rough. They are 16-16 now. They really should be 18-15. They really should have only lost against the Rockets. Excuse me, that would put them at 17-14. No, 18-14. 18-14 is what they should be right now. If they went 2-1 the next 3 games, they would have been 18-14. That would have been 4 games over. And let me just say this: not only are the Nets not looking like the way they're playing right now that they're going to get to 45 wins, they may not even make the playoffs right now. I know they're in the 7th seed, but the Magic are right behind them by only, I think, like 3 or 4 games. And right behind them is a whole bunch of other teams that are only maybe 4 or 5 games behind the Nets. And if the Nets are going to lose games to the Knicks and the Timberwolves, then I don't have a lot of confidence in this team. So forget necessarily them getting to 45 wins and taking the over. They need to start winning games so they make the playoffs, because if the Nets don't make the playoffs, this year is a complete disaster. So luckily, I still believe that they will make the playoffs, and I still believe that as long as LeVert comes back soon and Kyrie comes back eventually, this team will win around 45-ish games, I hope. But they still need to play better. And like I said, it's only getting harder for the Nets moving forward. So let's look at the next couple games. Starting with the Mavericks Thursday night. For several of you, you're probably seeing this video on Thursday, so it's later tonight. Look, Mavericks have played fantastic this year. Luka Doncic is having an MVP season. Porzingis is playing really well. I did hear that both those guys, though, are game-time decisions and are questionable with, injuries and so on and so forth. So maybe the Nets will have a chance. But once again, if the Nets can't beat the Timberwolves when they don't have their 2 best players, what makes us think that they could beat the Mavericks without their 2 best? I have no confidence in the Nets winning right now. So that's going to be a tough game. Then on Saturday, they have the Raptors in the Barclays Center. We all know how good the Raptors are. And then they have the Magic in Orlando. Now, that's a game that I would say the Nets should be able to win. But look, Orlando was a playoff team last year. They're right behind the Nets right now in the standings. They're not a bad team. And the way the Nets are playing, that's not even a guaranteed win anymore. And then you look at game after that, they have the Thunder. Thunder are overachieving. They're playing really well. So that's not a guarantee win for the Nets. And then they have the Heat after that. So they have legitimately the next 5 games, they could very easily go 0-5. which is why it was so critical in my mind for them to beat these teams like the Knicks and the Timberwolves that they're better than. Because moving forward, the way the team's constructed now, I would say only the Magic and arguably the Thunder, the Nets are truly better than of the next 5 teams that they play. So they should go 2-3, which would be bad, by the way, because that would put them 1 game under 500. And at this point, to me, they cannot let that happen. So really, they need to win the 2 games against the Magic and the Thunder, the teams they're better than, and they're going to have to upset one of the other 3 teams, whether it's the Heat, Raptors, or Mavericks, and go 3-2 and be over 500. And hopefully by then, LeVert and or Kyrie will be back, and this team can start building. Because, like I said, 29-21 is what they need to do, and they need to just keep on building some wins, and they just need to get it together because this team is really not playing well. And look, it's very simple. It's a simple equation of when this Nets team is winning, when they're not. When guys like Harris, Prince, and Temple are making their threes, the Nets play well and they have a chance to win. When they're not, this team has no chance of winning because that's the only way those guys can really make an impact on the game. That's not necessarily true. They can make the impact defensively and a few other plays, but their major impact is spreading the ball and spreading the court and making threes. And it's a bit of good formula. Dinwiddie dribbles, penetrates, either makes the layup, either does the pick and roll with Jared Allen or DeAndre Jordan, or passes out to one of those perimeter guys who shoot the 3. But when they're not making the 3, this team has no chance of winning, and that's why they need LeVert or Kyrie Irving, because at least then they would have another playmaker when those games happen that those guys aren't making the perimeter shots. They could then go to those guys to help carry the scoring load so it wouldn't be all Dinwiddie. And that's why this Nets team is where they are right now. They're in a shooting funk. They're in a slump. And hopefully, and I say this truthfully with a lot of, not a lot of, but a little bit of optimism, they figure it out here in 2020 because the Nets seem to have a history of playing better after the new year. They did it last year. They did it last year. They did it a couple years prior to that. The year that they made the playoffs when they had Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and that was the year that Brook Lopez broke his foot and was out for the year. Then they got off to a really, really bad start, and the Nets fired Lionel Hollins. That team turned it around right after the New Year's, and they ended up winning, I think, 44 games that year, which would be pretty cool. And, that would mean that it would be the under, and NetsBoy would lose money. But still, that gives you a little bit of hope, because that team was under 500 around New Year's, if I'm not mistaken. And they played a lot better, and then ended up winning 44 games. So I have optimism to believe that the Nets can turn this around and start figuring it out and play better, especially if LeVert comes back in the next week or so. But I got to see some signs, and it starts against the Mavericks. Like I said, I don't expect them to win, but let's see a competitive game. Let's see a close game, and let's see them take care of business against the teams like the Magic and the Thunder and go on from there. All right, so there you have it. That's the end of this episode. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with me, the Nets are just simply regressing to the mean, or do you think that that they should be better? Because I don't. Let me know what you think they should do to coming up, and and we'll see what happens. So until the next NetsBoy, this is NetsBoy saying once again, hope everyone had a very happy New Year's and a great holiday season. The holidays are all wrapped up. It's time to dive into 2020 and hope for a brand new year of success for the Nets. So until next time, NetsBoy signing off.